I'm Dave Kaiser from CCX Media with a special update from the city of Plymouth. As you see, two very special guests from the city joining us. Laurie Hokkanen is the Administrative Services Director and Public Safety Director, Mike Goldstein. Good afternoon to both of you.
Good afternoon.
We have a couple questions we want to go through to update Plymouth residents on how the city is responding to the pandemic. The city has been doing a lot of work to this point. Laurie, let's start with you. Let's talk a little bit about what has Plymouth done in response to the spread of the COVID-19? Where can people get most up-to-date information from the city of Plymouth during this time?
Thanks, Dave. The city has built a special page on our website where we are aggregating all of the information that's available, resources that are available through the city, information through the state, and folks can get to that just by going to our homepage, which is plymouthmn.gov. And there is a banner across the top that links them to that COVID-19 webpage. And we're adding to that almost every day. So even if it's not Plymouth information that you're looking for, that can be a good starting place.
Very good. Yes, some great information there, a good resource for the city, and certainly Facebook and other ways the city is sending out information to residents. Mike, let's talk a little bit about how decisions are made in Plymouth. So
Sure.
We haven't been faced with something like this before. How does the city respond? How are decisions made, and who are the key people in the loop in the city of Plymouth?
Well, by title, I am the emergency manager for the city. Under the direction of the city manager and the city council. But we, many, many years ago, created an emergency management leadership team whereby directors from the various departments within the city sit on that, or they have designees who are a part of that planning process. So collectively, we make decisions that best benefit the community that we are sworn to serve. Along with what makes the most sense for our personnel. And over the last several weeks, I couldn't be more pleased with the group coming together. We had good plans in place that were started a long time ago. And in implementing those plans, we've worked together incredibly well to ensure that all of the essential services are still being met for our residents, business owners, and others, and that we are doing whatever we reasonably can to best care for our workforce.
Next question, I'm sure something the city's probably been asking themselves, and you think about as you think, what do we do the next time if something like this would happen? Was the city well prepared, Mike, for this type of response? And were you ready with what you've maybe talked about, as you mentioned, over past years to go, we haven't seen anything like this, but we know what to do, we're prepared?
Yeah, I don't want to boast, but I'm going to. I don't want to take advantage of a crisis, but we have been very diligent over the last couple of decades to make sure that we have the right plans in place. And we weren't doing it in a vacuum. We're tied in with many other surrounding jurisdictions to make sure that we can do all of the things that we need to do. We were a little bit further advanced here in Plymouth by having a stockpile of personal protective equipment, by having really, really good plans that didn't just sit on a shelf collecting dust. We would regularly review them and exercise them. And we've just got a great collaborative group of people to work with who have all rolled up their sleeves to make sure that we can implement these important plans. And this goes back to 2003 when we were worried about an emerging pandemic then. That we then refreshed in 2009 with H1N1. And we've always kept, kind of our finger on the pulse of how pandemics have been managed across the globe. Never really thinking it would truly happen here, but if so, we would be as ready as we could be. And, now we're living that out, and we have an advantage. So much so that we've been able to kind of set a landscape for many other cities to replicate. And in fact, we're doing some regional planning now on behalf of all of the law enforcement departments within the county to have a regional response plan available in case any of our workforces are too greatly depleted. And our public works folks are doing the same thing. Our fire folks are doing the same thing. And our park and rec group has done a really great job too.
Great to hear. I'm sure that's reassuring for Plymouth residents. Let's talk logistics for a second for both of you. Let's start with you, Laurie. How do you plan for something like this from a logistical standpoint to operate a city? Tell us how that's been going.
Yeah, as Mike said, we're lucky we were in a good spot, especially from an IT infrastructure perspective. We did not have a lot of employees that worked remotely, but we did have those capabilities for sporadic use. And we were able to get many of our office functions up and running so that people could complete all of their work from home. We still have our phones being answered by a live person, and voicemails can be returned quickly. So for the work that was done in office, we could transition that to people working remotely and keep them at home practicing the stay-at-home order. And for some of our work that needs to be done in person, we've put in place staggered shifts so that we have work groups that see each other but don't overlap with others, and kind of work on a rotating basis so that we know we will have staff in place to meet the needs of our residents.
And I'm sure as well, again, that Plymouth website, plymouthmn.gov, a lot of business for the city from resident standpoint can be done online. So certainly go there and look at that. Logistics for you, Mike, for public safety, what has that been like?
Well, from a logistics perspective, most of the equipment we would need, we have, thankfully, and it's been deployed appropriately. From a staffing perspective, we've integrated a unique contingency staffing plan. We've put all of our officers on 12-hour shifts. They're on a 5-day on, 15-day off rotation. So on their days off, we have a built-in quarantine period. We have platoons that can cover for one another. If we have officers that we believe have been exposed, we can send that group home, quarantine them, and bring in the next group who would be ready to go. On the fire side, we're doing whatever we can to limit our firefighters' exposure. They don't have the same numbers and staff that we do on the police side. So we've got to protect them more so, and so that they're available and ready to handle any fires or other emergencies in the community.
Excellent. Final question to both of you as the situation continues to unfold. What would you like residents to know in the city of Plymouth? How can they help? How should they be thinking about emergency preparedness within the city? Mike, let's start with you.
Well, one is to adhere to the governor's order. This idea of shelter in place is not anything to take lightly. It will have very serious and helpful outcomes if we follow what is being requested of us. And for the most part, our residents are doing that. In some cases, not as much as we might like. And so when you are going to take steps outside of your home, do so cautiously, right? Maintain that 6-foot distance between you and somebody else. Wash your hands. If you do feel as though that you are symptomatic, make sure that you take care of yourself appropriately. Don't burden the medical system unless you need to, but if you need to, then go seek the right care. This is a very serious situation that none of us can take lightly, and by following the guidance that we're receiving from the governor, from the CDC and others, we could significantly mitigate the impact that this virus will have on our local community, across the state, and then the country.
Very good. Laurie, any final notes for the residents from the City Hall standpoint?
Yeah, we just want folks to know that if there is information that they can't find on our website, that we are still available to answer phones, and they should feel free to reach out to us and we can help connect them with resources that they might need.
Well, I know both of you are very busy, so we'll let you get back to your day. But again, thanks for taking a few moments to update Plymouth residents. And as both Mike and Laurie mentioned, the place to go, plymouthmn.gov. For more information, some great links to city information during this pandemic. Thank you both for joining us. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks, you too. Thanks, Dave.